Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight here at Bigfoot Lake. Tonight we have 3 incredible and mysterious Bigfoot encounters to share. Now, speaking of mysterious, the YouTube algorithm seems to not be on our side the last few videos. So if you enjoy the encounters tonight, if you enjoy the stories, please hit that thumbs up. It helps us out quite a bit, and if you don't mind, leave a comment. Any thoughts that you have on these encounters. There's lots to think about as far as these stories. So yeah, anything you could do as far as a thumbs up or a comment it goes to help the channel greatly, and we appreciate it very much. So with that being said, pull up a stump and get comfortable as we dive into the first of our 3 Bigfoot encounters. Our first encounter comes from Prince Edward County in Ontario, Canada, and this was back in 1975. The encounter begins, it was around 1975, and I was living in Milford, Ontario at the time. I had a part-time job at a nursing home near Lake Ontario. It was a Saturday, and I was working a 3 to 11 p.m. shift. And since it was such a warm and beautiful spring day, I decided to take my time and ride my bicycle to work. The last jaunt to the nursing home was quite isolated, with a small wooded area. And as I was riding by these woods, I could see that the trilliums were in full bloom. So I decided to ditch my bike, jump the fence, and pick some to take to work with me. I was so caught up in picking the flowers that each one I saw looked better than the next, and I did not notice that I was moving deeper into the woods. When all of a sudden I could feel someone watching me, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. Knowing I was on private property and that I was picking trilliums, which is a no-no, and I was sure that the farmer had come to tear a strip off me. Slowly I lifted my head and was shocked to see an ape-like human standing looking at me. I was frozen with fear. It was about 30 to 40 feet from me, and it was covered in dark brown hair, and I would guess it between 6 to 7 feet tall. Finally, my neck was released, and without moving, I slowly turned to see how far I was from the fence, the road, and my bike. Then, turning back to face the creature, it was gone. I did a quick, almost panicked search for it, and found him running away from me. With that, the rest of my body was released, and I was able to move with great speed myself, through the woods, over the fence, on my bike, and when I got to the nursing home, I still had those trilliums clenched in my hand. When reflecting back on it, I would add this: I don't remember any sound or smell, and the animal seemed more curious of me than threatening. I guess I was hoping after all these years, someone else may have seen one in this area, and after hearing, they would also share their story. So that concludes our first encounter from Ontario, Canada. Just a stroll picking flowers and run into a Bigfoot. So let me know what you think of that one. Leave a comment. So with that being said, let's dive into our second encounter. This encounter comes from Wisconsin. This is from the Chequamegon National Forest. The encounter starts. There are 2 Bigfoot people that live in or near Chequamegon National Forest in Wisconsin. We heard them the first time when we were mushroom hunting in 2001. We didn't see them that time, not until last year, 2006, when we stopped to eat. We were sitting on the path, talking and eating. My husband was laid back on the ground with his knees up, eating his sandwich. After about 10 minutes, he said he heard someone, talk or chatter. We listened, and all I heard sounded like elk crashing through the underbrush. Maybe moose or even a bear. Something big. But we were not really that alarmed. We had heard that noise before many times out on the trail. My husband sat up to listen, and the noise had stopped. So he pitched some breadcrumbs out to a waiting bird, and the crashing crunch started again. He stood up fast and turned around and said, "Look at this." I looked, and there was the strangest sight I have ever imagined. There was a large, hair-covered man, I think a male, not sure, and a small one. The small one was much closer to us, about 20 feet away. The big one was another 10 feet back. Those two Bigfoot just stood there. I don't remember much else. We jumped up and started backing up, and as we did, the little one came a foot closer, and then another. It was walking up tall, not like a bear. The little one looked like a kid, not a bear, but it had black hair, and it was male also. We backed up further and started a hurried exit down the trail. We never stopped until we reached the car. We don't think that they would have heard us, but we didn't want to find out. My husband thinks they smelled our lunch, which we left behind. The little one was probably hungry and very courageous. To answer your questions, there was no smell. There was no audible voice noise. The little one was about the size of a 5-year-old human child. It was naked, kind of cute, dark-skinned with frizzy hair on its head like a bad perm that was shoulder length on the sides. The face was clean of hair. I didn't notice a great deal about the bigger one. It was further away and it stood still. My husband doesn't know if the big one was male or female. We were surprised, as you might guess. The little one is the one that approached us. I feel sorry for them. They are probably hungry. We are of Potawatomi Native American ancestry. Both me and my husband. We know these people as Sihatonka. My husband's grandmother saw a family of 4 Sihatonka in 1901 when she was newly married in a place near Red Wing, Minnesota. The Sihatonka stole her fish catch in broad daylight, and she had no fish for supper. She called them the hairy people. They must always be hungry. It seems that way. Poor things. So that concludes our second encounter from the Chequamegon National Forest in Wisconsin. I found that one fascinating with the youth. This looks like a 5-year-old human child covered in dark hair. And the author of the encounter described it as kind of cute. So let me know what you think of that one. I really enjoyed that encounter. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, leave me a thumbs up, and also leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. So with that, let's move directly into our third encounter of the evening. And this encounter comes from the Yukon Territory. This is Keno Hill, and this was back in the summer of 2000. The encounter begins. I am not sure which summer it was, maybe 5, 6 years back. The wife and I were returning from Keno Hill early one morning. Our coffee thermos was in the back of the truck, and it was my fault it was back there. She wanted coffee, so we stopped some miles before Elsa and got out to get the thermos and for me to relieve myself on the side of the road. There was a stand of trees there. I wandered off a ways, walked way up there. I don't know just why I did that. It was there that I saw this bear sitting down at a carcass of elk, maybe deer. I don't know what the carcass was for sure. There was not much left of it, no rack, mostly a skeleton, maybe a doe. I was thinking it was a black bear at first, sitting down beside the remains, but that was an unusual bear. Bears usually stand up and tear at their kill and eat it standing up. This bear sat there, pulling at what was left of it. Way off in the distance, there was a fox pacing back and forth, awaiting its turn at the kill. Just then, my wife yelled at me to get myself back in the truck. The bear heard her and stood up on 2 legs, looking in my direction. I fell backwards a bit at its size. By God, I saw it was no bear. I believe it was a buck, and it had a piece of something from the carcass clutched in its hand. I don't know what. It looked like weeds. It stood there looking at my direction, and the fox took off at a dead run. The wife yelled again, and this buck started waving its arms up and down and stomping forward on 1 leg at me. Damn, I could hear those legs of mine move, but I couldn't make them move. I saw that it was black and it was naked except for hair around the usual male parts, the chest, arms, and it was unshaved looking. The beard was long and scraggly, with crud and stuff in the whiskers. It took a step to my direction and stomped a foot, waving its arms like a crazed man might if he was high on something. I fell back again and started crawling like a baby to the truck on my hands and knees. Finally, was able to get up and run to the truck. I saw my wife looking big-eyed at me coming. Behind me on the top of the area where the stand of trees was, that buck stood, watching us get into the truck. We started the engine up and drove off, leaving the damn thermos out in the middle of the road there. My woman is Tachon, First Nation Canadian, and I am English, and probably Micmac, though I was raised up an orphan by white folks named the Thomas clan in a settlement near Nova Scotia. We married 38 years ago, and her folks know about the buck, but we hadn't seen any in our life until that day. It was never taught about bucks. My woman told me what her people know. It was a shock to both of us. The buck is a strange marvel. Yes, it is a strange sight. The wife says it is good to see one. I don't know how. Having the heck scared out of me can be a great blessing, but she says so, and I listened. We don't speak much about this. The wife is still mad because I lost the thermos of coffee. I could have been killed, and she would still be mad about that thermos. Now, about the buck. We aren't really sure on the height. I was in shock when it stood up full size and not really thinking clearly, but I know it was maybe 8 feet up and features fitting to its size. At the time, it could have been 10 feet tall, for all I knew. I don't know what it weighed. I didn't stop to ask, haha. But it was sturdy, stocky, and plenty of bulk. I weigh 240 pounds and a mid-sized man. The buck must weigh double what I weigh. There was no sound except the stomping sound. No smell. It was black and had whiskers and long straight hair like a woman down its back and shoulders, black and shiny. There was nothing else around but a pacing fox. Nothing else I can think of. I was sure it was a black bear before it stood up and started waving its arms and stomping. My God, I get the hair on my neck standing up when I think about it. My wife said the buck is leftovers from a cast-out Indian tribe. Most were killed or run off. Not many left since white men came here, and what's left is scattered and shy. They tell me the buck is a skilled hunter and opportunist that works mostly after dark of nightfall. So that is the conclusion of our third encounter of the night. What are your thoughts on that? Now, not too often that you hear that term buck. That's B-O-Q. That's a Sasquatch type creature. All of the stories of bucks that I've heard in the past, they're very aggressive. So this may or may not have been a buck, perhaps just a Bigfoot. And I say that almost incredulously, just a Bigfoot. So what do you guys think of that? Have you heard stories of these bucks? Do you think this was a buck, or how would you classify this one? Either way, I think this is an incredible encounter, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed all three encounters. So, I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. You guys make Bigfoot Lake possible. We always enjoy your company, and we appreciate you all. So, hope to see you guys again soon, and hope you guys have a great night, and we'll see you on the next.